I finally found my family. Don't you understand that?
What's up everybody, this is Migs and welcome to the Far Side. Here's my breakdown of the trailer footage for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which was shown in San Diego Comic-Con. And probably the reason why you're seeing a picture of a raccoon for a couple of days now. The footage is yet to be released in public, but knowing the plans for Guardians 3, which was actually confirmed by director James Gunn as the final film for the Guardians of the Galaxy, this movie is sure to be a tearjerker, as he also confirmed that characters will die in the movie.
No! No!
Although he does add that it's not the entire team. Well, that makes us feel a little bit better. I'm afraid he'll do us dirty by doing a Suicide Squad WTF right at the get-go, which is highly unlikely. He'll just probably go through each character, hooking us in even more than we already are. Then right when we think it's safe, he pulls the plug. Oh man. We also heard a lot regarding how the movie tries to circumvent possible leakage. They filmed multiple deaths for each member. But enough about that, let's dive into the SDCC footage. Let's go. So the trailer starts off with Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, and the rest of the Guardians being surrounded by a group of Ravagers, space pirates, in some ship that might be Quill's Benatar. This crew lacks Gamora as seen in the events of Thor Love and Thunder. Basically, they could be considered a cameo given their screen time in that movie, but let's move on. A giant Ravager ship flying up to the Benatar right after Quill exclaims, "Oh hell, Ravagers." Peter is trying to mediate by talking things out, but Nebula says they have an appointment. After being asked with who, she says with Gamora. And visibly surprised, Peter says, "Say what?" Then out of their ranks, Gamora steps out. If you remember the time-displaced daughter of Thanos in Avengers End Game.
Spoiler.
No, not the one he threw off a mountain. Then in the shot, we can see Mantis and Peter. The camera zooms in on Peter's face as he sees Gamora for, we're assuming, a very long time. Jeez, wake up, man. We know that she was fighting with a group of Ravagers from Avengers End Game, and it makes sense for her character being groomed by her warmongering father to use her prowess in battle to emerge as one of the leaders of her very own Ravager faction, alongside other leaders like Sylvester Stallone's Sakaar and Charlotte 27 from Guardians Volume 2. Her leaving is kind of vague because we don't specifically see her leave after the final battle, but that was confirmed as part of a deleted scene from the theatrical release. Apparently, Nebula contacted Gamora without informing her teammates, which is why the Guardians are freaking out as they're approached by a huge Ravager ship and boarded by these pirates. After the defeat of Thanos, she would have been lost, having everyone she knew turn to dust except for Nebula. This looks to be one of the central themes, as this Gamora has never had history with the team, and she is more likely to be akin to her father rather than these band of misfits. She even says the exact words, "That person wasn't me," after Peter basically tells her he missed her. All the while, the scenes from their romantic moments from the first two films flash by. Mainly, we see a scene of them listening to music in Nowhere and dancing on Ego's planet. In true James Gunn fashion, we hear music playing in the background, specifically "Do You Realize" by the Flaming Lips. It's somber as it's meaningful. Most people miss that this song is really about the inevitability of death and that we need to treasure every moment with our loved ones. Okay, James, we got it. After shattering poor old Peter's heart into a million pieces, we can see them in multicolored spacesuits hop from their ship to an unknown celestial body. These suits look a lot like ones used by NASA. Maybe the team at one point came up on a stash of these sometime during their adventures. Next, a very scared looking shot of a baby raccoon, which is how I look when I think among the Guardians will be killed off. And yes, I think there are other deaths too. I'll get to those in a minute. Going back to this baby raccoon version of Rocket, as a large hand reaches out to grab him and do nasty experiments. A hand that no doubt belongs to Rocket Raccoon's maniacal creator, the High Evolutionary. A guy so obsessed he actually put it on his name. Here played by Peacemaker's Chibuki Iwuji, who we also see a close-up of in the footage later on. We may see a scene of the actual experimentation. Interestingly, the High Evolutionary does his experiments on rats early in his career. He was inspired by the work of one Nathaniel Essex, as in Mr. Sinister, to perform his own genetic experiments. He evolves rats in his parents' basement for some reason. So Rocket may be a genetically modified rat to resemble a bipedal raccoon. Alternatively, in the comics, Rocket is part of genetically engineered animals hailing from a place called Half-World. That version of him was mutated by sentient cybernetic life forms to take care of the loonies. Yes, it's a giant-ass mental institution, which is great for a James Gunn movie. The latter certainly supports the High Evolutionary coming after Rocket's unique bioengineering makeup, but is contrary to this scene of him grabbing baby Rocket and doing experiments on him. So that is the most likely scenario. We do have confirmation of Maria Bakalova lending her voice to Cosmo the space dog, and it's possible that's another experiment done by Herbert Wyndham. We may get to see the MCU version of Counter-Earth as well, inhabited by new men, living as normal human beings in a society that mirror Earth. Rocket most likely experienced horrific torture from Herbert Wyndham, aka High Evolutionary, as we're shown a buzzsaw-like device. Well, you get the idea. The scars on Rocket's back we saw in Guardians 1 are officially horrifically connected to his torturous experimentation, and certainly gives credence to James Gunn referring to Rocket as the saddest story of all time. Exploring another origin, we get a scene with a neighborhood in Earth. This may be Quill's hometown, and it's possible we'll get to see him return. He did have some family left behind when he was kidnapped by Yondu as a kid, and he might be facing them finally after all these years. I think he still harbors deep feelings with that place, mainly because of his mother, and in the first movie we do see him run rather than see his mother on her last moments. Indeed, we have yet to see him back on Earth since the events of Avengers End Game.
Just so you know, this is my ship still.
Comic book fans are sure to be happy with the original blue and red uniform of the Guardians finally being worn by Peter Quill, Drax, and the rest of the team as they step out of their ship. We get our first shot of Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter, who I must say got jacked for the part. His portrayal looks awesome with his gold skin, and he even has that spot on his forehead where he can put a soul stone. The Time Variance Authority from Loki has a lot of those lying around. Give them a call, man.
How do you have these?
Oh, we actually got a lot of those.
This guy has massive ties to the Infinity Stones, but he's a bit late for that. Adam Warlock was created as a perfect sovereign, and as we see in Guardians Volume 2, he was still in his birthing pod by the end of the movie. This being is extremely powerful due to his unique engineered biological makeup. The High Evolutionary does have connections with Adam Warlock, possibly having a hand in his creation as well, and maybe working with him at the start of the movie. In the comics, he gave Adam the Soul Stone and even gave him his name, Warlock. After this, we see Gamora in battle stance, and the way they cut it, it looks like she's facing Adam Warlock. Then immediately after, we see Nebula with her body all banged up, like she was literally beaten up. The next scene, we're shown the Guardians through some tough times, like Peter shouting, maybe in grief. We also see an older Groot and Star-Lord firing back to back, which is a callback to the prison scene in Guardians 1. This time, instead of Rocket, Peter is the one shooting. This looks like they're fighting enemies from all sides and they're being surrounded. Last time we saw Groot, he's still a teen, but this time he's grown to adulthood, similar to his first appearance in the first Guardians movie. It seems we're getting to the roots on many of these characters. Rocket's origins, Quill returning home, and now Groot coming back full circle as an adult. Then in the next scenes, we see a longer version of the jump to some form of celestial body, then a close-up of the High Evolutionary looking up. The next scene, we see them fighting the same creature from Volume 2 at the very start. This dimensional creature, Drax literally jumped inside its mouth. And Mantis, her hair now white for some reason. Next, we see Nebula in front of a sign with alien language that looks a lot like the new updated Golden Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 logo, the one we see in the official schedule announced by Kevin Feige. It literally is the same, just changed to alien letters. This could be their primary base of operations, where they can have like job interviews for new members and maybe hold weekly meetings.
Vanisher!
From what we could gather, aside from Rocket being possibly killed off in this movie, we'll probably see Drax go as well. Dave Batista has confirmed this as his last time playing the character. Also, in terms of his arc being the death of his family in the hands of Ronan, he no longer has any reason to go on. Okay guys, this could really be an emotional finale for the team, and we're excited to see what happens in the movie. Guardians 3 will come out summer next year. Anyway, that's it for me guys. Hope you liked it. Please consider to like and follow if you like this content. I have other videos coming into the channel soon. Thank you for watching. Take care out there and see you on the next one.